Hey everybody, I'm back with another pattern review. This time, let's sew up Tint of Mint's Zoe wide leg trousers and the matching Nora square neck lounge crop top. Please keep in mind that this is not meant to be a step-by-step tutorial for you. If you'd like that, please head to Tint of Mint's YouTube channel. Here I'm just showing my thoughts, some of my construction process, and the final product. This is really a pattern that's more made as pajamas or something of the sort, but I'm making this as a matching set to wear on my Palm Springs trip. So let's get into it. I am going to be using my backup sewing machine for this project. So this is actually the very first sewing machine that I learned how to sew on. I got it when I was like, I don't know, maybe 12. So since I'm sewing with my backup machine, that means I don't have my primary Janome that I like to sew with, and I don't have my serger. So I'm gonna make this whole matching knit set without a serger, and what's gonna be really important to that is making sure that I have selected a perfect stitch tension and the right zigzag stitch. So I just went through a few different scenarios here on my machine and picked the one that worked most seamlessly, I guess. Maybe that's not the best way to word it, but you get the point. All right, so I'm gonna start this pattern off by assembling our front panels. So this is our middle panel, a side panel, and then of course there's another piece here. And then I'll do the process again to make the lining of the top. Okay, there's our first piece. You can see that there's a little bit of, it actually just looks like an iron burn or something. I haven't ironed this yet. I recommend with any fabric that you think might look a little bit delicate that you iron it on a low setting from the back side and then work your way up in heat. I would be worried that this fabric would maybe melt a little bit, especially now that I can tell that there's like a little mark on the fabric here. So no worries, I can use this piece for the inside lining of the garment. With my two front panels fully assembled, I'm just gonna lay them right sides together and only going to attach them at the arm holes and the neckline. Okay, so now that I've done the same here, I'm gonna do some clipping here to help this lay a little bit flatter. I'm going to tuck this inside these straps here and pull them all the way here. So that way I can sew a seam and then they'll be attached at the top of the sleeves, but the seam allowance will be completely concealed. Okay, so this feels very like moment of truth, but sleeves tucked inside of here from the back piece. So that way you can pull them out. It needs a good pressing, but looks pretty good. I actually really like how this next piece is done for your side seams. I think it's pretty cool. You just match your side seams like so. And then you just stitch right across there. So that way when you fold it back, again, you have a nice clean finish. Okay, this is gonna be hard to do with one hand, but maybe. I feel like an unboxing influencer right now. Ah! So I already turned it right side out, but look how nice and clean that finishes. We have no top stitching, super minimal. This sewing pattern actually has a video tutorial associated with it. So I would recommend you watch that to figure out how to do the hem. This looks crazy. I don't really know how to explain it. I just kind of watched her video over and over to see how she folded it, but essentially she takes the edges of both front panels and wraps them around to stitch them together. So that way you have a clean hem on the front and then you have a very subtle hem on the back piece. Let me unfold this for you. Okay, so see, everything's nice and concealed. This still looks a little wonky because I also do not have an iron with me right now, but if I were to iron this, this would look nice and seamless and crisp. I changed her instructions just a little bit though. Instead of just sewing shut this front panel and then doing a whole seam, I did it all the way around, leaving a hole so that I could turn it right side out. And then I'm just making sure that this stitch line here, because I don't mind having a tiny one, is just dead center in this back piece. And here's a little preview of what I have so far. Now it's on to the matching pant. The top was super easy to make. I have made Tint of Mint patterns before, so I already knew what to expect. I made the Inez Trousers as a pair of shorts. I'm more nervous about these pants, not because I doubt the pattern, but you know, it's always scary to make pants because they just fit so differently. So anyway, this is the same exact material. I got it from Joann's. It's just a thin ribbed knit. They didn't have a thicker ribbed knit, otherwise I totally would have gone with that. But anyway, first step here is just to sew up this front rise on the front pant pieces. One-handed sewing. Now I'm just going to do the exact same for the back panels. I just sewed up the side seams, so now I'm about to do the same for the inseam. So now that I have all my side seams taken care of, the instructions say to hem and then do the waistband, but I actually recommend doing the waistband first before hemming. That way, if you need to make the waistline shorter for some reason, then your pants aren't too short if you've already hemmed them. So waistband first in my opinion, and then hem. So I've just folded over the top towards the inside, and I'm gonna stitch all the way around, leaving a gap open probably about here so that I could feed the elastic in. So super easy for your waistband. Just took a little break to get some Trader Joe's cold brew coffee out of my fridge. If you know, you know. And to try these on. I'm gonna make you wait to see them, but I'm super, super excited about these. What I was worried about with this fabric being thin and just not trying this pattern before, the crotch area can just sometimes look really odd, and the crotch area looked great. My butt looked good. So I can highly recommend this pattern for you. Now, I wanna talk about an optional step that you can do on this pant pattern. As you can see, you'll have to, if you don't do any sort of top stitching on the waistband up here, then you will have to manually adjust this gather each time. And depending on how thick your fabric is, and if you're actually trying to wear these as an outfit the way that I am out in public, you might not want all the gathering, you know, to bunch up over here, and then you're constantly adjusting it and worried if you're like, you know, looking good, whatever. There is a technique that you can stretch the elastic band and stitch as you sew. I think I'm gonna try it. It can sometimes give me some trouble, so just be really slow, take your time, try not to mess up, because this is a fabric that's hard to pick stitching out of. Like once we stitch into it, if I try to remove any stitching, you're definitely gonna be able to see that I tried to remove stitching. So yeah, I'm gonna stretch the elastic band while I sew to lay this flat. And what that'll do is it will help evenly distribute the gathering along this waistband. So I'll show you. I'm trying to get it so that my hands aren't in the way. But essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to keep the elastic in the same spot, and I'm gonna stretch it as I sew, not stretching the fabric, just stretching the elastic band so that everything lays flat. So I'm gonna stretch it out like that. I don't know if you can see all of that. And stitch. So that way the fabric will be evenly distributed when the waistband comes together. Now, before I started sewing, I tried my best to evenly quarter this and mark with pins to help me evenly distribute that fabric. So it's kind of hard to just randomly stretch, so I quartered it while doing my best to evenly space the fabric. So again, try to only stretch the elastic and not the fabric. You don't want to overstretch. And I'm going to start sewing. Sorry, I'm looking for it right now. Wherever my back center seam is, I always like to start on the back center seam, so that way if something is a little wonky when you start, it's in the back and not in the front. All right, here goes nothing. Here is what that looks like. Honestly, you know, if you're trying to make this whole set seamless, then this isn't a step that you would want to do. This makes the look of the outfit a little bit less minimal, but I think it's a change that's worth it to help keep the elastic from moving around as well as keeping the gatherings even. And since you stretched just the elastic and not the fabric while you stitched, and even if you're using a very tiny straight stitch, you don't have to worry about these stitches breaking because you already stretched the elastic, so they were put on while the elastic was stretched, so you're good there. All right, time to hem. I'm going to do the most minuscule hem that I can because I like the length that these are in with the pair of heels that I want to wear them with. And here is the finished product. Overall, I'm really happy with this pattern. It was perfect for the 110-degree weather that I was in and to stand in the dirt near some bougainvillea and take some photos away from the people. So anyway, yeah, go ahead and give this pattern a try and you can let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.